Swamiji, we are indeed lucky to have your presence with us here today. Thank you so much for making the time, and thank you to the Lord for making it happen, I guess.
And I'm so happy that you are here to facilitate this whole thing with your such deep and mesmerizing voice.
I've been told otherwise, but I'll take your word for it, Swamiji.
That must be the wife. That must be the comment of your wife.
I have some nasty friends as well. But Swamiji, when I first met you here during your trip as well, someone asked me, Swamiji के शक्ल मतलब what was the feeling? उनकी शक्ल पे क्या लिखा है? मैंने कहा लिखा कुछ नहीं है, मगर ऐसा तेज है, ऐसी उत्तेजना है. There is such a aura that you just feel like absorbing that and enjoying it. मुझे तो लगता है प्यार is something like that. You know, you don't need to dissect it. कभी कभार मैं प्यार को बस absorb करके enjoy करता हूँ. So with that, we'd like to begin the question. You know, we come into this world crying like little toddlers. And it's that mother's love which is the first love we all experience in our life. So where does love begin for a human being in the journey of his life or her life?
I think love begins even before you take life, isn't it? It's between the love of two people that we are born. So we are born out of love. We are nourished by love. We grow with love. And also we die for love.
So it seems love is such a key and driving factor in our lives. ये पैसा कहाँ से आ गया? All of a sudden this new character comes into this film, you know, पैसा, पैसा, पैसा. You know, and despite earning that paisa, we seem to find this mythical creature called love, you know, which evades us throughout our life. So is this something that we can chase, and what are we doing wrong in our lives today?
You know, I heard one story that one man had promised 1 rupee to God. And God came in a form of an old man to take it. And he made every excuse possible not to give it. That finally, to get rid of that old man, he allowed himself to be taken to the funeral pyre. Kept on the funeral pyre was lit also. But still, to give that 1 rupee, he was ready to die. Bhagwan was so pleased, and you know, as you know, in our Hindu culture, Narayan, Bhagwan is wedded to Lakshmi, wealth. He was so pleased that someone is a devotee of his wife. That loves money so much that Bhagwan was pleased that the love that should go to God is going to money, and at least that person has got love that he's ready to give up his life. That Bhagwan blessed him and told him that I'm so pleased with me, ask me for anything you want. And he said, don't ask that 1 rupee. Now that's love. So at least people have for money, so no one can say that they don't have love in their heart.
इससे तो यही लगता है कि only Banyas and Gujaratis know what love is. Swamiji, अब मैं क्या बोलूं पर. But having said that, it does elucidate one fact, और वो ये है कि प्यार महसूस करना ही कभी काफी नहीं होता. कमिटमेंट भी चाहिए होती है, सलमान खान की तरह. तो इसलिए बड़ा जरूरी है कि yes, we might, like Swamiji was saying, you know, we can choose to love someone or love something or a cause, but if you're not committed to it, even till the last breath, that's not true love somewhere. Am I right to assume that?
तो प्यार महसूस करने से ज्यादा प्यार करने में मजा है.
Thumbs up to that. I totally agree.
Please translate it for them.
Rather than just having a fleeting glimpse or an experience of what love is, you have to love itself. Get into the act of love itself. And by that, I mean, and I'm sure I speak for Swamiji a little bit, But it's not simply the physical love that we talk about. It's about caring, it's about empathy, it's about nurturing and having a commitment to that. कभी-कभार ऐसा होता है कि a friend doesn't have enough or someone doesn't have enough sitting next to us. और हम कहते हैं कि तू मेरा सच्चा दोस्त है 100%. But फिर भी दिल से, let's say he asks you for that 1 rupee. दिल फिर भी कहता है, oh my God, do I really want to give it? And that's the truth that we need to face within ourselves. So Swamiji, when do we have this tryst with truth? When do we speak truth about love to ourselves? Is there a certain way we can do it? Something that we need to inculcate as a practice every day?
We all want to be loved. There's no doubt about it, right? We know the joy of receiving love, but only we have to recognize the greater joy of giving love that a mother feels, that a father feels, that a lover feels. So giving love and wanting to love rather than just being loved. So we know the price of love, we know the greatness of love, because being loved is such a joy. But experiencing love in your heart as a lover is a greater joy than even just receiving love.
So ladies and gentlemen, yaad rakhiyega. From today, I'm going to try and practice it. Give a little more than we get, whatever it might be, except for hatred, thappad, and a few other things. Let's hold that back to ourselves. But I asked a question some time back, and I'm sure you have written many more questions, and I'm dying to hear what Swamiji has to say. But I did my research as well, thoda, so I said, okay, what's love? Let's get technical. So I have some definitions here. Love is a set of emotions and behaviors characterized by intimacy, passion, and commitment. It involves care, closeness, protectiveness, attraction, affection, and trust. ये तो Google का ही आंसर हो सकता है. अब Webster's dictionary क्या कहती है? Let's see. So it says, love, it's a strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties, maternal love for a child. If you don't tick mark any of that, is it not love? Second definition, attraction based on sexual desire, affection, and tenderness felt by lovers. After all these years, they are still very much in love. The best company to answer that question is Pfizer. They're increasing love every day in this world. Third definition, technical once again, affection based on admiration, benevolence, or common interests. अब इसके लिए मेरे ख्याल से जो मिक्स डबल्स खेल रहे हैं टेनिस में वो भी लव कर सकते हैं. But anyway, the point being that sometimes we look for these checklists. Swamiji, I find that he did this, she did this, she didn't do this. The 5 ways that you can, mesmerize your partner, or all these very quick fixes and technical definitions somehow never seem to encapsulate what love is. And more than ever in our survey earlier, people said love is a feeling, not a state of mind. What would you say to that? And then coming back to this larger, is love just these technical points and checklists, or is it something much more?
So love is a state of mind, and love is a feeling also. But these are expressions of love in our equipments. The real nature of love is identification with someone. When you feel a sense of oneness, and I say feel means know, a sense of oneness and identification with the person. And the intensity of your love depends on how much you identify that person with yourself. And examples are given of mother, because mother cannot see a child separate from her because it was very much a part of her. Dad may sometimes deny, but she can't, because that identification is so strong that the child is one with me. That sense of oneness, that knowledge of oneness, that attunement with each other, or rather as Swami Chinmayananda said, attunement with each other, is what reflects as the feeling of love or the state of love. So love has its various expressions, but love itself is identification with the beloved. When you see yourself in the other and the other in you, that is love. And that love is spontaneous because, as the Upanishads say, love for oneself is very natural. You don't have to cultivate. It's always there. You don't have to have an attraction. It is always there. And therefore, when you see yourself in someone and someone with you, that identification expresses itself as a state or feeling of love, or the emotion of love.
Swamiji, here you mentioned something about the fact that, it's easy to love oneself, and which is very true. The idea of self-preservation is so hard-coded into our genes. It's very difficult for us to actually stand on the edge of a cliff and, take a leap. We love ourselves too much. But I've often seen, these days especially, we hate ourselves too much as well. And we really bash ourselves too much as well. We hold ourselves to certain codes of conduct and certain strictures, certain rules. And if you checklist, I have seen some of my friends just push themselves so hard that it actually causes physical ailments. It manifests in very different ways. What would you say to that? How do we identify, when we are being a little unloving with ourselves or brutal with ourselves?
Really it is attachment to ourselves. That we start either liking ourselves or we start hating ourselves. And this is because what we love is ourself, but our equipments, the body, mind, intellect, when we find it to be troublesome to us, something that we start thinking is causing me sadness, that is when we say that we hate ourselves. We hate a certain condition of our mind. And therefore, when there is the feeling of love in the mind feels very beautiful. But when there's feeling of hatred in the mind, whether it's for anybody else or for our own body, our own mind, then we will start feeling that I hate myself. And when you start feeling that I hate myself, you have to live with yourself. And here there seem to be two self. Your equipment, body, mind and intellect, and you. And that you is someone who's the one who is the most lovable and the lover of the universe. And to know who that me is. And that's why the love for oneself is a little bit profound. It comes from the Upanishads. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad it is said that love for oneself is natural. In fact, even love for wife, children is for oneself only. And when anybody becomes a problem to you, even your own children, you're ready to give them up. Is it not? You say, get out of the house. So love for oneself is natural, but we do not know ourselves. And this misplaced self, where we consider ourselves to be this body or this mind, this intellect, which is constantly changing, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Then sometimes we love it, sometimes we hate it, and yet we are so selfish because we think that that alone is me. But the fact that love is natural in everyone's heart, and the fact that we love ourselves naturally, it only shows the nature of our self is bliss, ananda or happiness. And therefore, whenever you love someone, you see yourself in the other, you experience happiness. So love is of the nature of happiness. Amrita Swarupacha. So the depth of love we have to learn from the spiritual knowledge. The worldly love has also got some beauty, but it comes from the depth of that knowledge that the Atma, the self, is of the nature of happiness, of the nature of oneness, and of the nature of love. So when we consider our body, mind and intellect as something cumbersome to us, then we start hating it. But you cannot hate yourself. It is because anything that seems to be the cause of your sorrow, you start hating it, including your own body, mind and intellect, which you think is yourself. And that is what becomes self-hate.
I think there's at least I found a very interesting point that Swamiji makes here. It's about the identification of the self, who we really are. And of course, he differentiates that, between the body, mind, and intellect. And I think the exercise would be to very clearly, lucidly be able to see all these three different facets of our personality and who we are, very clearly, so that we can identify each, part of that prism, which houses the real self or the soul. So Swamiji, the question would be, what do we do to access our soul, talk to our soul, or build that connection? Because it's completely elusive. I mean, to most of us, I would say.
It's because we do not know ourselves. So strong is our identification with our equipments, and therefore our relationship with people also is according to the equipment. If you are body oriented, your love is also physical. If you are emotional, your love is also emotional. If you are intellectual, then your love is also intellectual. You can see nowadays in different stages of age, isn't it? To add a little bit of humor, it's very deep, profound explanation of love. See, why parents are so anxious when teenagers fall in love? Because body oriented, you only see how handsome or beautiful she is. You go on to also shadi.com, you'll see that, She has to be beautiful, he has to be handsome. That is the first requirement. After you found someone handsome, is it enough? He has to be sensitive also, caring also, is it not? And after you have educated yourself and that fellow is not educated, intellectually not stimulating, is it not? After you're 36, 37, is how much he's earning. You have to live with that guy, And after you're 40, anybody will do. So even our love with people depends on our identification. Where does our identity stand? With the physical body, and the physical body according to its looks or according to its health. Our emotional body according to its needs or according to its compassion, love, care. According to that will be our various relationships.
This is such a fascinating and a beautiful point you made, Swamiji, because think about it, when I thought about it, identification of the self leading to most of the problems. And then falling in love or finding love is when your real self, mirror image you see in someone else, and that resonance of energy, empathy creates the attraction. So it's like Swamiji was saying, जो आपकी खूबसूरती है वो ढल जाएगी, जो आपका इंटेलिजेंस है ना उसको तलवार की तरह इस्तेमाल कर करके वो ब्लंट हो जाएगा. However, the real you, which is not divisible, it's immortal, it can't be burnt, killed or destroyed. That's the real you that remains forever. And understanding that will help you understand finding love in this universe. Am I right to phrase that?
That is soul connection.
तो इसलिए आप में से वो लोग, I know a lot of people who say there is no soul connection. So Swamiji, is that right? Is there, some people say there's
unfortunately
nothing
the
like
word
soul
soul is taken in a very different way. That's why I was trying to avoid it. But in English you use that word only. It's the Atma connection, self connection. But soulmate and all that, we have to be very careful with those terms.
Having said that, I think we'll come down from, let's say, 100,000 feet now to 25,000 feet. A question which is more rudimentary and far more pressing. अक्सर होता है कि we go through life and, like Swamiji was saying, we find someone very beautiful, interesting, male, female, fluid, whatever it is. But then after some time, the honeymoon period keeps getting over. पहले खूबसूरती का होता है, फिर लविंगनेस का होता है, courtesies. Then afterwards, intellect का भी हो जाता है. So then, obviously, with the passage of time, you do find yourself attracted to other human beings. It only seems very natural. But then there is such a huge guilt of betrayal sometimes. And also the question that if I'm feeling all this, is it true? Because I'm feeling it. Someone can tell me it's wrong, however, I continue to feel it. How do we deal with this dichotomy?
See, again, it depends on our identification. If it is physical identification, then in marriage, for family, etc., that relationship has to have its commitment. But in life, our heart expands in friendship, in care, towards the whole world as one large family. So those who are physical, when the physical attraction of one person is gone, then start searching for another person. Another person also, it will go soon only. After all, it is temporary. But that love, which is from the heart to the heart, which actually is beyond any relationship. It doesn't require the physical attraction to sustain it. That friendship, that love, that care, for everyone is a natural process of the expansion of the heart. But those kind of relationships, that is only because of, like any pleasures, you will get bored with it. Eat too much of a chocolate cake, then you'll want a sponge cake.
I love chocolate cake, Swamiji. But having said that, जो स्वामीजी ने बात कही है, it's so amazing. I think that's what we need to find out, is this identification of who we really are and finding resonance with human beings throughout the world. Culturally, we are always predisposed to feeling more familiar, comfortable with people from our own culture. Having said that, if we roll back the whole set of identification to a base level or layer of emotions, values and principles, I think we can love anyone on this planet, I feel. Even trees, birds and animals.
Yes.
You see kindness in animals as well, where you see, a cat taking care of pups. I mean, we've seen a lot of videos on YouTube, etc. So we understand that this phenomenon exists throughout nature. But how do we get to this higher level of resonance, where we are really able to resonate in love, with everyone?
If one very simple and basic, which we already mentioned, that the joy of love is not just receiving love, but giving love. In giving love, we are independent. In giving love, nobody can stop us. And giving love, we discover more and more love within ourselves. And love is of the nature of happiness. So the more happiness you have, the more love you have, the more you have got to give. Where can that love stop once you know how to start giving love? On whom will it stop? What color, creed will it stop? It doesn't stop at anything else. And that becomes love for all.
Something that I derive out of this also, Swamiji, is love happens to have many different... It's like a coin that has so many faces. Usually they say chit and pat, there are two faces. However, to me it seems it's a feeling, it's a state of mind, it's a noun, it's a pronoun, it's an adverb. It's also fuel. And I think it's one of the most ecological, spiritually sustainable fuels ever to be created in the universe. I'll just explain what I mean by that, and I have a very important question after that, which is, whenever we do an endeavor, whenever the act of even giving water to someone, or the act of even greeting someone, it's done most of the times with the sense of just finishing a duty, a check mark. Sometimes it's done in disgust. Sometimes it's done in anger. Sometimes it's done with fascist love, I would say. Sometimes, जब मम्मी कहते हैं ना चुप चाप खा रहा हूँ ना, so there's an element of love in that, but it's fascist love nonetheless. But having said that, how do we make love the fuel of our life so that we get motivated by it? Every action of ours, act, etc., is fueled by love rather than greed, lust, anger, hate, etc.
Even lust, greed, anger, hate are actually distorted forms of love. Because whenever you like something, you desire it. Whenever you don't like something in reference to what you like, you hate that. No? So really speaking, the only motivating fuel in this world is love. Now, if that love is in a wrong engine, that fuel is in a wrong engine, and it fuels a missile, yeah, it can be destructive. So love for your goal, love for yourself, love for someone, no? All that depends upon what? But we mistake love to be like and dislike. And with like and dislike again, we create love for an object of our like. And then it just gets destructive.